Okay, we're live. You guys, I got Kelvin Fisher with me tonight. We're going to talk about the recruiting and that aspect and who we signed and what and maybe some things about them and maybe give our opinion on their chances of playing this next fall. But a lot of it depends on who's coming back, and we're going to talk about those guys too today. Yeah, Paul and Jason weren't able to make it tonight, so we're just going to leave it at that. And please welcome Kelvin. And if you guys got any questions for him, throw them at him. Make him work for it tonight.
And I want to state right now, I am no expert. So
Okay.
anyway, I'm just filling in. So
Yeah.
So
All right.
anyway,
Let's get at it. Okay. So I think at the top of the list, let's start with Will Nolan, offensive tackle. One of the things that impressed me is he gave up no sacks during I think his career or his senior year. I don't remember which.
I don't know. I think isn't he like 6'5", 270 or 80 or something?
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Highest rated guy on the board.
I wouldn't mind our offensive tackles to be around 300 pounds. Anyway,
I just like them to block better. So.
Yeah, we should good. This guy should be a good one. He's at the top of the list. He had 74 pancake blocks, and I don't know if that's his senior year or his career, but hey, 74 pancake blocks, I'll take that every time. He can pancake all the guys from Michigan and Ohio State.
I hope so. Yeah.
So. You know anything else about him? Anything else that jumps out at you about him?
I just know he's the highest rated guy. I heard James Daniels' brother, the ex running back today. Mm-hmm. And like he said when he was at Iowa, he said the thing and you've heard Coach Hack say it, it's hard to project offensive linemen. You just don't know.
Right.
Until they get there. I presume that he's played against pretty good competition, so he ain't like some big Iowa guy that's playing against a 200-pound guy on the other side of the line. Yeah. So, but I'm hoping. I mean, so I think George Barnett's taken over the recruitment, and Barnett's from over in that part of the country over in Illinois, and he's If you notice, we're getting more guys from Illinois, and the next year's class has got a bunch of our very top guys are over there in the Illinois area. So.
Well, here's a question for you. Jason, our so-called expert with inside intel information, has stated to our chat group that you're not a member of, unfortunately. You could be if you wanted to be. But anyhow,
I have chatted when I catch you live, but
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But he has stated that he's pretty sure from his intel that Joe Philbin is going to be the new OC, and he's also going to do the O-line. And so what would that leave Barnett?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm no expert. I know one thing.
What's that?
Kirk Ferentz knows how to run a football program. I mean, he's got, he took a lot of criticism for bringing in Ken O'Keefe and Norm Parker and Phil Parker and Philbin on that first frickin' coaching staff. Boy, did he get heat on Philbin, and Philbin was Ferentz's first job as a high school assistant coach. The head coach was Ken O'Keefe.
Right.
And one of Kirk's players he coached was Philbin.
Mm-hmm.
So they had this connection. Kirk knew him and trusted him and brought him in. Turned out Philbin was a great hire. He created the 2002 offensive line, but Philbin left because he hated recruiting. Good news, if you become a coordinator at Iowa, you don't do a lot of recruiting. Phil Parker picks out one or two kids a year, and because Phil Parker don't like recruiting, and Philbin didn't like it, and that's why Philbin left. And he was a great OC for the Packers and he got to be when you're a head coach in the NFL for 2 or 3 years, you're doing something right too. But anyway, if Hack says that's what's going to happen, I guess that's what's going to happen. But I was kind of leaning towards Paul Chryst myself, but anyway,
I think most people feel that it's Paul Chryst, but I think it's going to be one of those two, in my personal opinion.
But like I said in the first place, I am no freaking expert. I don't know. There might be some guy that we don't even know about. That Kirk has such a huge network of people in the NFL.
Right.
Philbin and Chris could contact Nick Saban. These buddies with Saban. Saban say, "Hey, there's a coach down here that's really good." So I don't know, but anyway.
We'll see what happens. Right now they're focused on the bowl game, and hopefully we get the win out of that.
Yeah,
okay, let's move on to our next highest rated player. I got Derek Weisskopf, a linebacker.
Yeah.
What do you know about him?
I know that he was didn't play as much defense this year. He had a knee brace on. He's a high jumper in track. I would have Buffington as the best athlete of the bunch. He's heavier and he runs faster and everything, but Weisskopf is more of a stretchier, good hips type athlete. He played quarterback, so he's very smart for Williamsburg. And I think we got 3 real good linebackers. The Reese kid from Monticello, Iowa. I've been from up around Monticello, and he's not. I think he only weighs 198 or 200 pounds right now, but he might be very perfect. And again, he's a quarterback, running back. He does everything up to Monticello, and so he fits right into that. He might be a Kyler Fisher type or something. I don't know, but Weisskopf's really good.
Yeah,
really good. I can't. Weisskopf, I don't know if he's really a 4-star. I don't know if these stars are even accurate, but anyway.
Well, you know what? It doesn't matter. What it matters is when they get on the field, what they actually do, how much hard work and heart they put into it. But if Weisskopf is a high jumper, I kind of like him at a linebacker because he might jump up and block a few passes and maybe actually catch a couple.
I think I seen that he got up to 6'9" high jumping, and like Tyler Barnes said day before yesterday, 6'9" awful high for a kid his height and carrying that much weight. I think he weighs 215 or something. So I'm sure he'll be a good one. Hopefully. So.
Hey, South Bend, I see your question out there, and we'll come back to that after we toward the end a little bit, if you don't mind. Gavin Hoffman, tight end.
I'd call him the top player, but
is that who you feel is the best player in the class?
Oh God, I think so. I think he'll be playing. I think he'll have a chance, depending if Lachey or either one of them come back. If we don't get one of them tight ends to come back, we're pretty much, we got the Ostrenga and that tight end room that people seem to think for some reason we're overflowing isn't overflowing anymore because you lose Large and All and Lachey and how you say Stellanos.
Yes,
have 4 guys. Four guys that might play in the NFL next year.
Yeah. So I did not realize that Hayden Large and Stellanos, or Steven Stellanos.
Yeah, this was Stellanos.
I did not realize that they were done after this year.
Yeah, Hayden Large just came from 1 year. He was from like Dordt College.
Oh yeah.
And this was his last year, and he's a walk-on. He didn't even get no money. Well, walk-ons get paid at Iowa now. They get nil, and they get to eat off the table. But I seen he's one of the top-rated fullbacks for the NFL, which means he won't get drafted. But I see him. I think he'll probably play tight end. I mean, he caught a couple not very many passes at Iowa this year, but he's pretty darn elusive out there and pretty nimble of foot, and having that label of being an Iowa tight end, schooled tight end, sure helps you with an NFL team. So.
Yeah, I mean, he came in as a tight end originally, and they switched him to fullback.
Yep, had to.
Yeah, we didn't have a fullback.
Yep, but him and Stellanos was either his fifth or sixth year. I think he came out of maybe Lafayette College out east or something. But
so then we
anyway.
have Cody Fox, interior offensive line.
Well, I want to touch on Hoffman a little bit.
Okay,
he's tall. He's tall, and he has a vertical leap of like 41 inches or something, and he can run, and he's going to be a tremendous tight end at Iowa, as is the other guy probably. So you going on to Fox now?
Yeah, let's talk about Cody.
Fox committed maybe before his sophomore year. He's a big kid, seems pretty tough and physical, and like LaShawn Daniels said, he's an offensive lineman. We'll have to wait and see, just like every football player. But he might be labeled a 4-star also from East Buchanan, where the Gallery boys were from. So
yeah. Yeah, I think with the offensive lineman, I think you have to learn. You have to learn the blocking technique. You have to learn how to use your feet to push people out of the way. And I think I look some of those techniques on our current offensive line, and I don't see that kind of technique. Like, let's say the 0-2 offensive line, which is probably the best offensive line that Kirk has ever put out on the field.
Yeah.
I don't see them putting guys off the line and just keep pushing.
And all them 0-2 guys were terrible when they came to Iowa.
Yes, they were.
They weren't good until 0-1 and 0-2. Nelson, the center, was pretty darn good technique out of Applington Parkersburg, and one of the great centers at Iowa. But I mean, Steinbach, he wasn't even an offensive lineman when he come to Iowa. He was a tight end and defensive end, and Gallery was 6'8" and probably weighed 215 or something. He was a tight end for a few weeks, and
I believe it takes time. On that team.
I've been hard on Hack. Will tell you, I've been hard on Connor Colby, and this year Connor Colby improved probably 50%. He didn't have a high PFF score on run grade, and he was terrible on passing grade last year. This year he's raised his passing grade up to kind of passable, and his run grade has taken off. He was a kid that was thrown in there as a true freshman. You can't do that.
Right.
Ask Caden Proctor at Alabama. I don't care how good you are. About the only Brian Bulago was an awfully good true freshman at Iowa, but they come along, once every 10, 12 years.
Right. Yeah. South Bend just wrote a note, said, God, that 0-2 line was so good. I remember at Minnesota when they subbed out at the same time in the fourth quarter. Quite a moment. I don't remember him subbing out. What I do remember that game is we blew Minnesota out of their own dome, and we took the goalposts with us, and we tried to get them out the door.
Out the revolving door, which was something we needed the 0-2 line to help do. But yeah, they subbed them. They subbed them all out at the same time, and thank God Gallery come back for another year. So
yeah,
I remember the Michigan game where we beat them like 38-9 or something up there, and I think we ran for 300 yards or something. That's the game that I just remember. That offensive line just, oh my God, it was incredible. But anyway,
yeah, we did our part, and then I think earlier in the day, I think Michigan State helped us with the other part to get us into the Rose Bowl.
I just wish we'd.
I think we had to win, and somebody else had to win.
I wish we would have had a little harder schedule that year, because I wish we'd have played Ohio State. We'd have kicked the rear end, I think.
Yeah, I think everybody was looking forward to that, and there was a debate on who was better, but One good news: we were ranked higher than Ohio State.
I don't remember that, but all I know is Ohio State got to play in the national championship game, and we didn't. So Ohio State was unbeaten, and we weren't. That was the problem.
Yeah. Well, maybe they were ranked higher than us.
We should have. I know people hate Kirk Ferentz sometimes.
Or number 4. I thought we were up to number 3.
Oh, we did. 4. We did. I think we were. Us and USC and Ohio State and Miami were the top 4 teams, I think. But people complain about Kirk Ferentz, but in the second half of that Iowa State game, the only game we lost, if we'd have just ran the ball the whole second half, we'd have killed Iowa State. But we decided we're going to show off Brad Banks, and goes back to pass. It gets hits, fumbled, touchdown, Iowa State. And that's when the game turned. We should have just stuck to keeping the ball on the ground and running the clock, and we'd have been unbeaten that year.
Yeah. South Bend says Miami defeated. I think it sounds like it defeated Ohio State, or
no, Ohio State beat Miami in overtime to win the national championship.
Yeah, there you go. And we were third.
It was a big. It was a big upset, and then we got beat by USC. Carson Palmer and Mike Williams pretty much beat us in the was it the Orange Bowl? I don't know.
Yeah, we went to the Rose Bowl that year and got whooped.
I didn't think it was the Rose Bowl. Maybe it was. You're probably right. So
yeah,
we were ahead.
Or was it? No, it wasn't. No, I'm sorry.
I think it was the Orange Bowl
and got whooped by USC in the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, we were ahead 14. I think we ran the opening kickoff back for a touchdown. We were at 14-0, and USC had us tied up by halftime in the second half.
Yeah. And then their Heisman winning quarterback was he the Heisman winning quarterback?
Yep. Year? Banks was second, and Carson Palmer was first, and they had a tall freshman wide receiver, Mike Williams, who Bobby Sanders tried to cover, and on deep passes, that Williams was like 6'5". He just jumped up over top of Bobby Sanders for long passes and caught him. But
yeah, between you and South Bend, you're bringing it all back, my memories back to me on that. Thank you. It's been a while. Okay, then we're moving on to Cam Buffington. You kind of talked about him a little bit.
He's from Winfield. He's from Winfield, Mount Union, Jess Settles territory, and his uncle's my friend, Johnny Malone, and John Malone's brother Jerry played football for Hayden and Kirk Ferentz on that team that beat Texas in the Freedom Bowl. He backed up Joe Lavellis at guard. And anyway, the Malones are the Buffington's uncles. Yeah. They're I think their sister is his mother. And then there's another Buffington named Cooper, who Iowa is recruiting for next year. He's a little bigger kid, might be a defensive end or something. But
okay. One thing I remember about that Chuck Long and the Freedom Bowl is I didn't get to watch that game. I don't know if it wasn't on TV or the reason why it wasn't on TV. But I ended up having to listen to it on the radio, WHO. And
were you in Iowa?
Yeah, I was in Iowa. I was living in Waterloo at the time.
I was on TV. It was on TV. I watched it, and I was on the farm.
Watch it on TV.
I was a dairy farmer at the time. We sure did. All we had was 3 channels, so it was either on ABC, NBC, or CBS. And it was in a rainstorm, and 460 yards later, Chuck Long.
I would like to see that one replayed on BTN sometime, or maybe I'll go on YouTube and see if I can find it.
Yeah, you can YouTube it. Hayden was so pissed off because, the year before we were supposed to go to the Cotton Bowl. We had a hell of a team, and to play Texas, and Texas wouldn't let the Cotton Bowl invite us, so they invited, I don't know, Ohio State, I think, or something.
Yeah.
And so Hayden was really pissed, and he told the team about it before that. They played Texas that night, and the team knew how important it was that we kick. And Bill Snyder and Donnie Patterson, they knew we were going to kick Texas's rear end because they just played press man-to-man defense, and you couldn't play press man-to-man defense against Hayden Fry. So.
No, so yeah, about that, I also remember. I think Texas didn't want to play us in the Freedom Bowl that year either, and they said that we weren't deserving of playing them. We weren't as good as they were.
Both
and then we
both teams were ranked in the top 4 at early in the season, and Ronnie Harmon broke his leg, so we lost the last 3 games. I think we lost 3 and tied 1 to end the season, so we were like 6-4-1 or 6-4-2. And Texas was ranked number 1 before the season. They ended up only like 6-6. So neither team had much choice. You either stay home or come play in the little old Freedom Bowl. But
yeah. All right, moving on.
By the way, about Cam Buffington, he weighs 230, and at the Iowa camp he ran a 4.58, and then he ran a 4.59. I think it was.
So those are pretty good, decent runs.
Yeah, it might have been a 4.48 and a 4.49, but I think it was 4.58 and a 4.59. But
okay,
that really sealed the deal.
Now we got Joseph Anderson. We want to talk about. He's an
oh my God, his dad played in the NFL, an offensive lineman, and he's like 6'5", only weighs about 210. He's a track guy. I think he's going to run track at Iowa too.
Yeah,
high hurdles, long jump, high jump.
Yeah. Now his dad did not play for Iowa. Who did he play for?
I don't remember.
I think it was
he played in the pros for quite some time.
Yeah. He was a Penn State guy. Now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure.
No, that's the kid from Arizona's dad that was Penn State.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
This Anderson, I'm trying to think of his first name, but don't matter. But.
Oh, the NFL guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this kid's got arms, real good athlete, get in the Iowa weight lifting deal. Ought to be a tremendous defensive end, I hope. So.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about our newest punter, Rhys Dakin, also an Australian. The guy apparently has a hang time between 5 point something and 5.35. He's on that video.
Yeah, that's what
you sent me or somebody else.
That's what a YouTube video showed. I don't know if I trust that or not, but I don't trust that YouTube crap. You should see a guy kick it, and he obviously kicked it really good. And then you see a guy stick his hand in, and it says 5.8 or something. Is that a joke? Is it real? All I know is, like we agreed yesterday talking that he'd be the guy that plays right away, right?
Right, yeah. Well, obviously.
Yes. And he's been secretly committed. I knew we had an Australian punter committed for several months, and Tyler Barnes said that he'd been committed for 4 or 5 months. So
yeah, I did hear that, and he went down there to make sure he still wanted to sign.
Yeah. So
another thing with this guy, if he's that good with the hang time, all of our guys, our gunners, should get down there and down that ball in between the 5 and the goal line. They should be down there waiting for the ball to come down.
Yeah, I hope so. I just have a real good feeling about him. That I've heard that he was the number 1 punter over there in Australia coming over, and we got having Tory Taylor so popular over here really helped us. So
that helped, but also it's a good thing we're getting this guy because we seem to ignore the number 1 punter in the United States that was right here in our state, and we let him go to Georgia.
Yeah, I know him too. Yeah, I'll take the guy we got. So I ain't gonna say
Iowa
nothing.
Did too, because I don't think they actually recruited the guy from Iowa.
Yeah, they didn't even offer him. All the everybody wants a punter from every school in the South. It's like the Texas punter's an Australian guy. I'm just glad we got that. What was his name? Sleep Dalton, the punter before Tory. I'm glad we got him to transfer from Arizona State because he helped us get into Arizona. So anyway, but
Yeah. So yeah.
it's like we didn't offer that punter or kicker down there, and that tells you something. We wanted this other punter, and the so-called number one prospect in Iowa, Grant Bricks, who went to Nebraska, we pulled our offer away from him. So I
So we
trust our
took the offer
coaches.
away. Yeah.
Mhm.
I
Because
think it's because
we offered him, and when we got to that June time when everybody was committing, you got to give our coaches credit. They're honest with recruits. They said, we got 3 scholarships to fill, and we think we're going to fill them this week. Do you want to come and commit? Because if these other guys commit, we won't have a scholarship for you. Them other guys committed, them 3 Illinois offensive linemen, and so we didn't have a scholarship for Bricks. So
yeah, my understanding is that he and his family never wanted to come to Iowa to begin with. They were always leaning Nebraska. Always.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have the intel on that.
I just know that I follow recruiting very well, and I noticed when the offer dropped off.
Okay. Hey, let's go look at real quick. Let's look at all the wide receivers, including the walk-on wide receivers.
Okay.
Because South Bend wants to know if we have addressed our issues there. And so the first wide receiver is Reese Vanderzee.
You'll know in 4 years.
Yeah.
Vanderzee is very tall. I picked him out watching the state championship because he played with Zach Lutmer, and I made the comment, like I told Coach Hack, I said, that's the tallest secondary I've ever seen in my life. They had Lutmer and Vanderzee, who's like 6'5" or 6'6", and the other guy is walking on Eben. Mm-hmm. So we got all 3 of them. But Vanderzee, he could put on weight and be the next Luke Lachey, or on the downside, he's a great baseball player. He could end up being the next Brody Breck and never play for Iowa football. You just don't.
Playing baseball?
I think so. I would almost expect him to, when football season's over, to go over and sit on the Iowa basketball bench too. He's one heck of a basketball player.
I'm sure they would like that too, especially with his height. Okay, KJ Parker. What do we know about him? He's a wide receiver.
Well, he played for Matt Bowen.
Okay.
At what is it called, Immaculate High School?
Yeah, Immaculate Conception, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the Conception deal, but I try to avoid that. Me and Paul, we try to avoid Conception. But anyway, I just know he looks good on tape, and he's not a great big guy like Vanderzee, but I don't care how big they are as long as they catch the football.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for whatever reason,
I know we got a bunch of young wide receivers. Hack loved Alex Moda, who was kind of converting to a wide receiver this year. So he's coming out of his red shirt year, and I think we had a couple other wide receivers red shirting this year. So I hope some of them work out.
Did Moda ever get into a game?
I don't think so.
Okay.
He was mostly a running back, quarterback, athlete in high school.
Well, a lot of these guys are.
It's like everybody wants to know, how come Caleb Brown couldn't catch a damn pass the first half of the season? He was a running back. I told people when he committed, everybody was like, this is the greatest wide receiver I would ever commit. And I said, no, he's not a burner. I mean, he'll probably run a 4.5, 5.40 or something. And he's a running back who didn't even play his senior year of high school. He was like Deacon Hill's his name, their COVID year and everything. He had, he trained at wide receiver for a little bit at Ohio State and never played hardly, so don't expect, we put too much pressure on some of these kids, and I like Kirk Ferentz. They said, what about Caleb Brown? He says, well, you got to catch the football, and people hated it, Well, that's
Well,
what a coach.
I got a feeling that Caleb Brown and Deacon Hill spent a lot of time after practice or before practice running routes and playing catching, throw and catch.
I don't know, but it's pretty obvious. Hack will tell you that Kirk Ferentz lit a firecracker under Caleb's rear end. You know, that you have to be here and serious. And now Kirk says he's a great young man. You know, you got to give kids credit when they turn the corner, right, Dean?
What's that?
You know, you got to give kids credit when the light comes on and they turn the corner.
Right. Oh yeah,
You know,
I agree with you there.
And now Caleb is a guy he's very much like Keegan Johnson, except he's bigger. You know, he catches the ball and he can make moves and get those, they call it yards after catch. And he sure can block.
How did Keegan Johnson do at his new school this year?
Just so, you know.
Also, nothing special.
I don't doubt Keegan's talent or anything, but it's hard to go to a new school, and it's like, I'm sure the people at Savannah State or wherever Seth Anderson they're probably sitting over there. Well, Seth didn't do much at Iowa. It's hard to come into a new system, a new everything, and just keep on keeping on, you know.
Yeah. So Seth early in the season, he was a big go-to guy for Cade. When Hill took over, he wasn't much. They weren't throwing to him much after that all year.
Yeah. He
very little targets.
He just dropped. You know, you're a wide receiver. You can't drop the ball. You know, and
it's like Kirk said, catch the ball.
Sometimes, some of these guys go through dropsy fits. You know, Reganey dropped so many balls this year, and I love Nico. You know, I love all of them. You know, I don't like saying anything, but Nico dropped a lot of balls. You know, he dropped 5 in one game for Deacon. You know, and
I don't know what happened to Nico
Seth Anderson on that first long touchdown pass of the game from Cade McNamara to start the season. Boy, they had to look at that because I don't even know if he caught that. You know, the ball kind of rotated when he hit the ground. So Seth got to catch that ball, and I'm sure that they said that he was really staying after with Deacon a lot. You know, after Deacon was thrown into that, Deacon was thrown into a pretty tough situation, but they kept saying that Deacon and Seth Anderson were staying after catching a lot of passes and stuff too. So,
well, that's good.
Anyway.
All right. Let's talk about a walk-on wide receiver, Apollo Payne. His dad is an ex-Hawkeye, I believe.
Today. Yeah.
Yeah, just today.
OJ Payne was his dad. He's 6'3", I think 190. He lists that he runs a 4.6 40, and he had offers to go to smaller schools, maybe Northern Iowa or something. I don't remember where. Yeah. Maybe not Northern Iowa. I don't know.
Yeah, but a lot of those type of schools. But he also had an offer from Iowa State to be a preferred walk-on, and I don't know if there's much difference between a preferred walk-on and a walk-on.
It don't matter anymore.
Yeah, I was thinking that same thing.
All walk-ons now. The NCAA changed the rules about 3 years ago. Now they can eat it. That used to, Kevin Casper would tell you that he hated it at Iowa, that he was the walk-on, and until he got a scholarship, he had to go buy his own food. But now walk-ons can eat at the training table, eat 30,000 calories a day, and if Heinrichs is nice to him, he can pay his way to school.
They can pay his way to school, or at least pay for his books. Because
but
books are a big
expense. I would presume that a lot of these kids, I don't know what it costs to go to Iowa. I don't know. I have no idea. 10,000, 20,000. I don't know what it costs to go to Iowa, but I'm presuming that I know the University of Iowa makes sure every walk-on gets paid. I'm sure. I don't know if probably most of them ain't getting enough to pay for their tuition, but
no. But it's probably enough to let them live so they can play football and
Yeah.
do the
But I
homework.
never heard of Payne until what I read today. So
Well, as long as we're on wide receiver, let's talk about what's it? Oh, Michael Burke, tight end, 6'6", 225 pounds. You know,
yeah,
let's talk about,
I think we got two tremendous tight ends. You know, I think the kid from Missouri, Huffman or whatever his name is he's the one that after he committed to Iowa, every Southern school, Auburn, and I can't name all of them, came in trying to get him. But Bert's right there with him. I mean, another tall kid. And Bert was just kind of hogtied in high school because he was on a running team out there around Omaha. But I'm sure he's going to. Boy, the Nebraska people were upset. But anyway, I'm sure he didn't go to Nebraska because Nebraska got Carter Nelson, who's might be my favorite tight end in the whole country from Ainsworth, Nebraska. Anyway.
Nebraska is going to be scary good if they actually use all that talent they're bringing in.
I really like
Frost wasn't able to use.
I like Coach Rule. He's a much better fundamental execution coach than Scott Frost was. So yeah, I'm a little more scared. But hell, Nebraska, you can probably count on your fingers the last 40 years where, the last 30 years where I was out recruited Nebraska in the recruiting rating. So that don't matter,
Yeah, like you said, it's heart and hard much work you put in. Okay, let's talk about the final tight end that's committed to Iowa as a walk-on.
Well, there's two walk-ons.
Do we have two tight end walk-ons?
Yeah, one's named he's got I think he's from Carroll Kemper or something, Von Bon or something. He's a tight end, defensive end type guy, I think. And then the other guy is the big tall guy, Marsh, from Waverly, Iowa.
Yeah, and Marsh is the only one I got on my list. How many walk-ons do we have? Because I only have 9 here.
11. Today we got our 11th.
So I missed some.
Well, there's a kid I think he's from Carroll Kemper or Waukee or someplace. I know his team wears red uniforms, but he's like 6'4", 225, and who knows? You never know. You come to Iowa, you might beat out the 4-star tight end. So
it's happened. This is one of the reasons why I insisted getting a list of the walk-ons, because Iowa's success depends on the walk-ons, and they have played a big role in our success.
Barry Alvarez, when he went to Wisconsin, back in the late 80s or 90s or early 90s, whenever it was, he said on the Big Ten Network, he said half of your recruits, he says, if I get 20 recruits, high school recruits, 10 of them are never going to help me. That's the success rate of recruiting in football, if you don't know it, Dean. Okay. Half of your recruits, if you go back to our recruiting class in 2018, you probably look at it, and half of them never played much at all at Iowa, and they're gone. But he said, so I'd get 10 walk-on. Barry said, I'd get 10 walk-ons every year and try to fill some of them holes. Some of them walk-on guys, walk-ons at Wisconsin, Leonard, who's people rate him along with Bobby Sanders as the greatest safety in the Big Ten history. Leonard was a walk-on. J.J. Watt, one of the greatest NFL players of all time, Wisconsin walk-on. Yeah. I wish Iowa would offer some
Iowa has a few people in the NFL that were walk-ons originally.
Well, hell yes. Yep.
Yeah. But okay, I want to address South Bend's little question here. It goes, did you just admit that a team that got rid of a coach and hired one that is going to be great for the program and scary good? Well, I didn't think I said it that way, but I will admit
Dean's
he's bringing in some talent. I don't know how he's going to handle that talent yet.
I've only been friends with Dean for a couple years, maybe at the most, but I know Dean's always afraid of the new hire coach.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, I was going to be great. We hired Licklider. No, I'm kidding. But
Oh no!
you know,
When we
everybody.
hired
Whenever
Licklider
you
for the
hire,
basketball coach, I
whenever,
was mad that Alford left and we hired Licklider to replace
yeah,
him because I
I
knew
was
Licklider
joking.
wasn't gonna win over
Yeah,
the Iowa fans.
I was joking, Dean.
I know you were.
But
I know
you
you
know,
were.
everybody, the new coach is like the new girlfriend. You
Yeah.
know, ain't she great? You know, or the new boyfriend. You know, if
Yeah.
you're a woman, the new boyfriend. Oh God, he's great for the
Yeah.
first 2 weeks.
Yeah. No, I
You know?
just thought when Alford left because I know that people didn't like his personality and everything, but I didn't
Oh
think he
boy.
was hurting the program that much. But
Mhm.
but when they hired Licklider and I saw what he did at whatever that school was, Butler, I thought if he brings that boring offense to our team,
Mhm.
I'm gonna die. And there he did. He brought it, and we couldn't even win with it.
Yeah, I was like I keep saying, I'm no expert. I don't. It's hard to prognosticate. You know, so who the hell would have thought if Iowa lost DeJean, Cade McNamara, Lachey, and had all them other injuries that we would go 10-2 this year? You know,
Not many. Many people
who could
wrote off the
predict
season
that? You know,
as
a
soon
lot
as
of
Cade
people
went
predict.
down.
Yeah, a lot of people predicted 1 or 2 losses for the year, but that's when we had when we had an
Everybody.
above
That's when everybody
average
was
quarter.
healthy.
You know, Cade's at least an above average quarterback when he's healthy. Problem was he wasn't a single game this year.
No,
So,
no. And
but
maybe on Kids Day this year, maybe he shouldn't try to. If it ain't there, don't run for it.
I don't even know. Who knows if his knee will be ready by Kids Day next year? You know, I'm
Yeah,
hoping that. I know you know,
I
I
think it will
feel
be
bad.
ready.
I feel bad for Deacon. You know, because Deacon was about. We didn't have much for options. You know,
Yeah. Well, I
you
got a
know.
question for you. Okay.
Labatt was just getting healthy, starting to practice, and Deacon had already started a game.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm hoping Marco. You know, I'm not going to say anything bad about Deacon because he's one of our boys.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know,
Let's
and I'm
let's
hoping
talk about
Marco
this.
makes a step up. So
Does Kirk stay loyal if Cade can't go to start the season? Does he stay loyal to Deacon and start Deacon, or does he start Marco because Marco probably is a better quarterback?
I think if Marco, and I don't know if we'll have an offense that's near as complicated as it was under Brian. You know, Brian actually ran the Greg Davis offense.
He did. I
Yeah,
realized that. It took
Greg
me a while to
Davis
figure it
helped
out.
him. Craig, Brian's a great coach, just is not a great offensive coordinator. I don't have any problem with Brian's play calling. He called every freaking play in the book. You know, you can't even dream of a play he didn't call hardly. But the problem with Brian's offenses the last few years, of course, the offensive line wasn't good. It got better this year, kind of. But the problem was execution. You know, I can listen to Coach Hack right now. Well, the wide receiver ran the wrong pattern.
Yeah.
You know, well, uh,
Or
the wide
wait a minute
receiver
though.
better not. The wide receiver better not run the wrong pattern. You
Yeah.
know, Caleb Johnson. The reason he doesn't play, last year because he was getting our quarterback killed because he couldn't pick up a blitz.
Hmm.
You know, kids have to learn this offense. What I'm saying is, Marco's got a lot to learn.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I hope he can. Hack will tell you that it takes a while to get this in your head. Sure, you can dumb it down like we did for the bowl game against Kentucky last year, where the quarterback takes 2 steps back and predeterminedly throws to a guy. Throw tight end screens to Sam Laporta. That works, but it's tough. You just never know. Hayden wanted so bad Dan McGuire to be our quarterback. Bill Snyder kept telling him, well, Hartlieb's the one that is accurate and's got a brain.
Hmm.
Not that Dan McGuire didn't have a brain,
No.
but Hayden
I
wanted
remember.
so bad. Hayden wanted so bad his big jewel from California to be his quarterback, but
Yeah, because
Hayden.
he was the brother of what's his name, Dan.
Well, he was the number. Hayden.
Mark McGuire.
The thing that people don't realize. I've been following recruiting since '75, and Hayden got a first, second, or third team All-American quarterback every year. Chuck Hartley was second team All-American. Dan McGuire, second team All-American. The third quarterback, Tom Polsky, was like a third or fourth team All-American. Tom Polsky was a great quarterback. And the
By the
guys that
way,
played with him will tell you that. So
is Tom's son Tommy still on the team, or did he leave?
oh yeah. Yeah. He better be. You never
I
know.
don't know
Might
that
need
that
him.
poor guy's ever going to get a chance to throw a ball.
Well, he's a walk-on.
Yeah.
Isn't he like 5'10"? Who knows? Maybe he can play, but he's a walk-on, and he's a walk-on. I ain't gonna say anything bad about him. I've never seen him play, but he's a walk-on. I would expect that our other quarterbacks, but Aiden McConnell was a walk-on. He's doing pretty good. So, but Tommy's dad, I know a bunch of the guys that played with Tom Polsky Sr., and boy, they love that guy, and Kirk Ferentz loved that guy. And that's a big reason why young Tommy's on the team,
Yeah. Well, let's talk about, let's move on to our two running backs that we signed, Xavier Williams and Brevin Dowell.
Yep. I heard LaShawn Daniels today. He was laughing because Tyler Barnes said that Williams from Indiana. He's from Indiana, ain't he?
Yeah.
Anyway,
yes,
he's 5'11" and weighs 230. Tyler Barnes said he reminded him of him. He reminds me of Blake Corum. I ain't saying he's as good as Blake Corum, but he's very quick, and he's, oh my God, is he just built like a brick building, And I really like him. And then Brevin Dahl is so fast, from Adele.
Tyler Barnes, I believe he said, if this is the one I'm thinking about, because of his weight and everything, that he's good as the game goes on. He's going to wear a few people, and a few linebackers down. They're not going to be able to stay with him.
Yeah. I love this kid. He's different than, we haven't recruited a guy built like him in quite a while. Of course, in truth, I don't think he will make a move, but he could end up being a fullback too. But see what the new offensive coordinator
has in mind.
Got going. But Brevin Dahl's, what's interesting about him, of course, he's so fast. He only played a few games this year, but I think he was averaging about 10 yards a carry. I mean, he doesn't have Tim Dwight speed, but he's got that James Rezar speed. The quarterback, they both are probably about 10-5, 40 guys. 10-5, 100-meter guys. But Brevin Dahl, the interesting thing about him is that a couple of the podcast guys like Listicow and I can't remember the other guy, Locked On guy, they're from Adele, so they know him, and they know that all his relatives are like 6'4" and 5. And Brevin could really grow yet. They said his growth plates have quite a bit of room in them yet. So I think he's went from 6 foot to 6'1". Who knows if he ends up at 6'4" or something, he could be a wide receiver with that speed, or a tight end or anything. But
all right, let's talk about our new quarterback, James Rezar. Let's talk about him. The guy is a fast dual threat quarterback.
He's probably, I don't remember what Alex Moda ran in the 100, but I really think that he's the fastest 100-meter guy that Iowa has recruited since probably Tim Dwight. I think Tim Dwight ran after he was in college, I think even in high school, he might have ran a 10-2 or something like that.
Now,
this kid will run he didn't run track last year because he cracked a bone in his leg, but he ran a 10.65 as a sophomore. So they're expecting him to maybe get below 10.5 this year. So
see, I had heard that Weegan was our fastest guy on the team.
He is.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the fastest 100-meter guy that we have recruited.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can look up Weegen's track numbers, on a computer. Just put
Yeah.
in
Well, that's why we use him
Weegen.
on the jet sweep a lot because he's pretty fast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hayden Kirk really likes Weegen. He goes. He said at the start of the year that he's improved a lot. When he got here, he tried so hard, and you can see how hard he tries. He about
Right.
runs out of his shoes sometimes. Kind of tackles himself.
Yeah.
And he
Well, I
said
know his uncle.
once he gets comfortable and relaxed,
Mhm.
he would do really good, and he did really good for us this year.
Yeah. I
Another
talk
walk
to his
on.
uncle all the time. His uncle lives in Palm Springs, and
Hmm.
he's so happy for him this year because last year they were so disappointed that he didn't see the field very much, and then this year he.
Hmm. That's the bad thing about family wants their kids to play.
Yeah, they do.
Just be patient. Kirk isn't biased against anybody or anything. Just be patient. And I did some coaching, and I just hated it when parents would come up and, how come you're not playing my boy? Well, I'm playing my best guys I got. But
Yeah.
sure, the Weegan family ought to be very, very proud of that young man, the way he played. And he played at Williamsburg with Weizkopf, and
Yeah.
there's a young Weegan on the Williamsburg team. I watched him play in the playoffs. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
All right. So let's talk about. I'm trying to pick out things here because
Oh, we
I
were
feel like
on
we're going to run
Riza.
out of time.
We were on Rezar.
Yeah.
He's just a
Oh, yeah.
tremendous runner. His completion percentage went up this year. He's got kind of a long, kind of a JJ McCarthy type arm motion, which is kind of long. Different than Cade McNamara and Marco. But
Yeah.
hopefully he's great.
Yeah. I have
But
him down at 62.9% is what I looked up. But
yeah.
when I listened to Lysico today on his show with Scott Dockerman, they say that he was like 54%, and
Mhm.
so he would need to work on his completion percentage if he was going to
Yeah,
ever
I think
play for Iowa.
if I think their 54% is his last 2 years put together. I thought
Hmm.
I seen this year he was 61.9 or something.
Yeah,
But
62.9 is what I got. Yeah.
yeah, they're just his completion percentage was not, it was like 46%, I think, last year or
Yeah.
something like that.
Well, here's something. He passed for a career of 4,756 yards and scored threw for 47 touchdowns. He also ran in a career for 1,502 yards and
Mm-hmm.
scored 21 touchdowns with an 8.1 average run. This is what we
Yeah,
need out of
yeah.
our quarterback. We need a quarterback who can scramble and run out of trouble instead of taking a sack or throwing the ball out of bounds.
Yeah, it'd be great if we could have a kid move his high school numbers up to college. It just
Yeah,
doesn't happen. But
yeah,
yeah, he doesn't like to run. He doesn't run that often, but boy, he averaged 8-10 yards a carry.
yeah.
I think
But
it's I
I
think
think
it's
when things break down, though, when things break down, you got to have a quarterback. We've played against many quarterbacks that aren't necessarily running quarterbacks, but they're able to scramble out of trouble or run away from the defense long enough to find a receiver downfield to get the ball
yeah,
to. And we don't have that. We haven't had that for a while.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm gonna try to shut up because you probably don't want to get the show to go too long. But we've Kirk's had plenty of mobile quarterbacks.
Mhm.
McCann was pretty mobile. Of course, Banks was very mobile. Banks really wasn't that fast. He ran like a 4.7 40 or something at the combine, but he just had that twitch.
Yeah.
He was he could juke you. And then Christensen and Tate could move around. It just that we've had we had a run with Stanley and May and Petrus of three guys that Stanley could move around pocket a little bit, but they weren't speed guys by any
No,
stretch. So,
no.
but
Okay, let's talk about we got two great cornerbacks, Jalen Watson and Rashid Godfrey Jr. And I noticed that during the year that I think it was you that was always posting, because Jalen Watson was very active on the social media after every one of his high school games. Was it you that was posting his stuff?
Yeah. And he ran like a 4.39 at the Iowa camp. And boy, does he look like a wide receiver, you know. And I was the only one that recruited him as a cornerback, and because Phil Parker wants him, you know. So I would think that, you know, it depends. If our cornerbacks come back, I don't expect DeJean to come back. I'd love it, you know. But Castro and Harris, you know, if some of them guys don't come back, I would expect Watson might see the field as a true freshman. Phil will not play a freshman on the back end of the secondary, but he'll stick in a freshman cornerback like Julius Brents or Riley Moss first week if they're the best, you know. So
Or TJ Hall, I believe, was a freshman. He stuck him in there too.
Yeah. Oh, that didn't work. But that was out of necessity.
The first year it didn't work for Riley Moss either, but Riley Moss learned.
Oh, the first game it didn't. The first game or two it didn't work out. The rest of the season was pretty good. But,
but yeah, at least they had faith in him.
Watson could play next year at cornerback if, you know, if we're thin there. Yeah. You know.
Okay, I kind of want to. I wanted to hit next. Oh, I wanted to hit the O line.
Oh, we skipped Rashad. We skipped Godfrey, the other defensive back. Yeah. He's a big physical guy. I suppose I could. Some people are saying, "Oh, he can play cornerback." I picture him more of a safety or something, but he's a big physical guy. Doesn't have great track speed or anything, but neither did Desmond King. So anyway.
Okay, so we got Brody McCausland at 6'6", 275 for an O-line. I would love to see him get bigger than that.
We got Janikowski, the guy that, he's built like a badger. He's probably only like 6'3", 270, but my God, is he a killer. I mean, he'll be on the inside, either a center or guard. Yeah. He has no neck. I mean, his shoulders just attach right up to his ears. And
I just want to see some guys push people off the line, push the defense off the line, open up some holes for our running backs.
Yeah. And then we got Fox, and then we got the other Illinois offensive lineman too, he's a tall, rangy guy. So that's our offensive line recruits. And I really wouldn't expect any of them to play. We got so many guys coming back.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. That is true. You're absolutely true. Let's, some of the linebackers we picked up. We got Preston Reyes.
Yeah,
he's had 97 tackles and 27.5 tackles for a loss. So I like that.
He was the Gatorade Player of the Year in Iowa. He just doesn't weigh enough yet. Only weighs about 200 pounds. But tremendous athlete. And he's the all-time yardage leader in Iowa high school football. He broke Cooper DeJean's record. So.
Okay. So also we got the walk-on linebackers are Graham Eben and Kyler Girardi. I want to say that's how you say his name.
Yeah. Is Girardi the one from Illinois?
And Devin Van Ness, as you guys will recognize the last name.
Yeah, Van Ness is like 6'2", 230. I think they'll stick him in at linebacker, but who knows? Who knows where his weight will go at Iowa? Of course, Lucas's brother, and who is the other? Oh, Eben is a safety linebacker, and he played in the secondary with Van der Zee and Lutmer, the recruit from last year, and he's a he's oh boy, can he hit people and has a great motor. I think he's probably 6'1", 185, 6'2", 190, something like that. Could be a linebacker. Grow into a Seth Benson. Benson was put
By
on
the
a lot
way,
of weight
I
at
just want
Iowa.
to tell you, Jason is watching, and he says whoever this is needs to take my place on the show. He knows his stuff.
Jason's just kissing my rear end. Yeah. I love Jason. I love listening to you guys, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, Jason's going to take a break from the show for a while. I just don't know how long.
Yeah. I know me and him both have health problems, and I have people always say how great a memory I had, but boy, I had a greater memory when I didn't have chemo brain. So anyway, but
all right. And South Bend says Girardi is from North Scott, and he'll be a hard worker. I believe it.
God, he's good. Yeah, he's like 10 miles from me. I forgot I forgot what school he was from. Yeah, he's really good.
So you're in the Quad Cities.
Yeah, well, I'm Rock Island, Illinois, which is the Quad Cities. Yeah. So
yeah. I don't. I got cousins that live there. My mom is from there. I've been in Rock Island more times than I care to count, and Moline.
Yeah. So
anyway,
let's talk about Girardi's really, really good, and then I don't know where that kid from Western Dubuque, whether he's going to be a linebacker or a fullback. He's a kid that set all the rushing records in the state championship game. He's really good too. So
anyway, let's talk about Drew Campbell, defensive end, 67 tackles and 6 sacks for Cedar Falls High last year. You think he's better or about the same as his brother?
Oh, his brother was more athletic and limber at the same age. Drew's just a little different, but he's got the same work ethic, I think. And I wouldn't be surprised if Drew Campbell ends up playing right where Logan Lee is.
Center? Oh, no, I'm sorry. I got that mixed up. Yeah. I get the Logans mixed up.
Kirk always joked around that Jack Campbell would have been a great center, too. So you never know. But
Jack had to work hard.
We recruited 2 guys that might go on the inside. The other 2 guys I think are defensive ends, but Campbell could end up playing any place on the defensive front, I guess. But I really like him. I like all our guys.
Yeah,
I really like him
because they're correct. Jack was a linebacker.
Yeah, Jack was a linebacker.
Yeah, so
Jack was a 3.
Their plays will be different.
Yeah, and so.
But I'm always looking for a good defensive end because those are the guys that are your rushers.
We got
quarterback.
Yeah, we got Anderson and Shamike. The kid from Texas. That kid is just a beast. I mean, he's a basketball player. He's 6'5", weighs 250. These great big long arms. Him and Anderson. And I think it's the kid from Arizona have such long arms and multi-sport type people, So and
let's go back and
I seen next year's recruiting class. I mean, who they've offered, and we've offered another like 15 defensive linemen. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Pretty ridiculous, but
yeah. Well, let's go. Like I said before, walk-ons are key to our Iowa success.
Yeah, we got a walk-on defensive lineman yesterday, a Gawkin or whatever his name is from Stevenson, Illinois.
Yeah.
Adley Stevenson High School.
Yeah.
So he's supposed to have the wingspan of a 7-footer or something. He's only 6'2", but
wow. Yeah. Well, moving on, it's we're also working on recruiting I call them the 6 that all have decisions to make. Castro, Higgins, DeJean, Lachey, All, and Schulte. I think all of them can make decisions for the NFL. or come back. And
Yeah.
DeJean, I don't expect back, or Lachey. I think they're both first round draft picks.
Yeah.
And
I want him
hate
to be. I want him to come back, but I don't think DeJean will come back. But
yeah. They got first round money coming to them. I just don't see. Well, maybe not Lachey.
well, Lachey won't get first round money. He could be. I guess he could be drafted late in the first round if his ankle was so good and he just tore up the NFL Combine.
Yeah.
But
Well, see, and this is what my key was: the fact that he's not playing in the bowl game. It means he wants the extra time before the combine to get in shape, to
yeah,
get rehab.
I think if Luke Lachey's leg was back, once when you break something, you got to build the muscle back up,
Mhm.
no matter where it's at and everything. And I think if Lachey could play was really healthy for the bowl game, I think he'd play. I think he loves Iowa, but
Yeah. Well, I think he could
like
play
you
now if
say,
he wanted
like
to, but he's not fully healthy.
like you're saying, and Kirk said the other day, it'd be stupid for him to try to play.
Right.
Why risk anything? So.
No, and I absolutely agree with you. And now let's go on, and this could be the final thing about the offensive coordinator hunt. We talked a little bit about the beginning about
By
it.
the way, I think you left Kyler Fisher out. He's probably going to be back. I'm hoping all three linebackers and Castro all come back, and Jamari Harris. That's my hope.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead
with
offensive coordinator.
Yeah. Well, all these guys could go to the NFL. I think, according to Lysico and Dockerman, I think. Oh, I forgot Harris. Harris is not on there either. I forgot about him. Yeah. They say that Harris probably isn't NFL material. That if he declares for the NFL, he's probably a free agent signee.
It's possible. I don't know. I think Harris will probably play in the NFL. But
yeah,
I remember when Geno Stone decided to leave early, and all the people on the internet, he's so stupid. And I think right now he's leading the NFL in interceptions. So it's not just let the kids do what they want. The coaches will give them good advice, and we all want Caitlin Clark back, right? But
yeah,
she's going to do what makes her happy. So
right. Anyway. Well, she wants to kind of. I heard she kind of wants to go to Indiana. They've got the number 1 pick. She's been told that she's the number 1 pick. Indiana was at the game last night watching her play. Yeah. So I don't know. It just depends if the scouts want her as the first pick.
She's been friends with Boston for years, But I'm not saying she's going. I'm not saying she's staying. The old wives' tale that she makes more money at Iowa than she ever will in the WNBA is not true. She'll even get more commercial money and everything.
Right. Well, and all those national endorsements that she has now will go with her. Yeah. The Hy-Vee probably won't go with her, but the other ones probably will.
Yeah. I don't know what she's going to do, but
yeah, we don't know. Nobody knows.
It's like Coach Bluter says, there's no drawbacks to either one she goes to, and she should just do what makes her happy. She's done so much for us. Mm-hmm. Maybe she wants to do more for us and come back.
Yeah. But does she look a little stressed out to you this year when she's playing? She played loose and fun last year. She seems to be playing more stressed, more serious. Yells at her teammates a lot more.
There's more stress on her because she's got to do more this year. Her and her and Martin are about the only ones hitting any 3-pointers. It ain't like you can pass the balls to Cernano and 70% of the whatever Cernano went in. And
the sad thing is Gabby and Molly are both. Gabby and Molly are both capable.
Two of her veteran teammates are gone. So
yeah. But Gabby and Molly are about the only two that can hit the threes, and they're not hitting them this year.
Yeah, Martin's been playing real good, and all Affolter. I just love the way Affolter plays, and Stolke gets help. She's healthy now. It kind of looks like, and
looks like she's a superstar waiting to happen.
Last year's team, you didn't have to mold it into anything; it was already made. This year, you can see what Bluter's doing. trying to plug people in and see what works. So
we do have one decision from the team. If you read Lysicle's article on Sharon Goodman, she's coming back next year for her COVID year. She's already decided that.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. And I think part of the reason why she struggled early in the season is she has not had much time the last 2 years to play. She's been injured.
I think. She used to have a knee brace on all the time.
Right.
The Ediger girl that played pretty good at the end of the game last night. I think at one time she had 2 knee braces on. I don't know if she's got any on now or not. Of course, Feuerbach missed all last year with a knee surgery.
Yeah.
Of course, Kate Martin missed a year with knee surgery years ago. But anyway. Okay, offensive coordinator, right?
Yeah. Okay, I say it's between Paul Grisp and Joe Philbin, just based on the hints that Kirk dropped in the interviews the other day, but we're not going to find out until after January, and possibly if it is Chris, we're not going to find out until after January 8th when the championship game that Texas might be involved in.
There's no – I keep hearing all the talking heads and the journalists saying that we got to hurry up and hire somebody, but we don't have to hurry up and hire anybody.
We do not.
No, none of the recruits were going anyplace else, and most of the guys you want are busy right now because they got another game to coach.
It's like Kirk said, they're focused on the bowl game.
Chris is with the Texas football team. Pretty successful year. Philbin's with Ohio State. Pretty successful year.
Yeah. Both of those guys are in the playoffs. No, I'm sorry. Ohio State's not in the playoffs. I take that back.
Ludwig. What's Ludwig playing tonight or tomorrow? Utah playing?
Tomorrow against Northwestern.
Yeah. And I don't even know if he's a candidate. I have no clue.
Why would he? I mean, let's be honest. Why would he leave a successful Utah team? Which
he
is
has a connection.
Just a crossover move to a team that he can't. He's got more freedom at Utah. I wouldn't leave Utah.
Yeah, it depends if he wants to be a head coach. If an offensive coordinator comes to Iowa, and all of a sudden Iowa has a really good offense, you're one of the hottest coaching prospects in the country.
Right.
And but the thing is, he has a tie-in with Kirk because his boy come and played for Kirk, and of course Chris has a nephew with the Iowa staff now.
Right.
Of course Philbin played football for Kirk in high school. So, anyway, the guy at Ludwig, is his head coach Whittingham or something. Anyway, that his head coach at Utah is the Kirk Ferentz of the Pac-12. He's just a solid guy that coaches there for years and years and years. So, obviously he likes that. Of course, he might be like Phil Parker. He don't want to go no place else. The day Kirk Ferentz retires, you won't have Phil Parker at University of Iowa anymore. So,
final question before we leave. I promised South Bend we'd come back to this. Evening, fellas. Can Kelvin explain to some of us that aren't that well versed in college program what makes KF so good? From a dumb fan, it seems that starting Petrus and Hill tells a different story. So basically, he wants to know why Kirk should be reverend, I guess is what I'm saying.
Why he should be revered?
Yeah. Probably
because he's a Hall of Fame coach. he's only proven it for 25 years. That might be it's like, why do you revere Jesus? Well, Jesus walks on water,
Yep.
Well, Kirk's kind of walking on water at Iowa. I mean, it's not the easiest place to do what he's doing. I'm not saying that he's the greatest coach in the history of mankind, but good God, give the guy credit. I mean, people compare getting rid of him to Tom Davis. Tom Davis was not Kirk Ferentz. Tom Davis got it handed to him. His first 3 years at Iowa, He won 32, 28, and 25 or 6 games. After that, his record wasn't very good. Kurt wasn't handed anything, and Kirk's the winningest coach at Iowa. He's one in the last 8, 9, 10 years. There's only 5 teams in the country that has won at the rate Kirk has done every year, and that's Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and Clemson. And what's different between Iowa and those 4 schools? We don't have a recruiting base like that. I mean, if you're at them 4 schools, you're like Jim Harbaugh and Ryan Day. You're born on third base. Kirk
I'm actually happy with the way they recruited Iowa, because they're getting guys that fit the culture of Kirk's culture at Iowa and hardworking, winning ways. Because I remember a season when they actually went after a bunch of 5 stars, got a few of them, and some of them either didn't come to Iowa or they didn't work out while they were at Iowa.
And recruiting, well, I remember all the recruiting classes,
Okay.
but
you remember which one I'm talking about? It featured, I think, a running back or a wide receiver.
The highest rated recruit Kirk Ferentz ever got was Kyle Williams, from the Chicago area, and he come to Iowa, and he was not a good guy, and Kirk kicked him off the football team, and he went to Purdue and was a superstar for about a year until I think he ended up in prison or something. Character does matter.
It does. It does.
And let me tell you something about who he picks at quarterback. All these guys and even when Hayden was here, they just like to bitch about who's playing quarterback. When Chuck Long started playing, well, how come this Vlasic guy from Pennsylvania, the big recruit, how come he ain't playing? It's always, Hayden always said the reserve quarterback's always the most popular guy on campus.
That's been true forever.
Yeah. And, the coaches watch him practice. Coaches don't want to lose games. They're gonna play the guy that doesn't turn the ball over for the most part. And I know Deacons turn the ball over, but what's the alternative? I'll guarantee you, if you got a kid on a football team, and his parents are publicly or privately bitching, and Hayden or Kirk would play him because the parents are bitching, the team would revolt.
Well,
you cannot, a coach has to do what's before his eyes.
Right.
But when you lose your football team, you're done for.
Yeah. But let's talk about CJ, because didn't CJ's parents get a little upset with Kirk and say that he's basically leaving if he's not named the starter?
Okay, who's CJ?
Beathard.
Oh, well, Beathard told Kirk, whether it was him or Bobby Beathard or his dad or whatever, they were honest with Kirk after the bowl game and said, well, we're going to transfer if we're not going to be the number 1 quarterback, and pretty much by that time, the last half of that season, Kirk was playing both the quarterbacks.
He was.
So you could see that Kirk was going to make that decision. I mean, unless you were blind. I mean, and there were 2 good quarterbacks, Beathard and Rudock.
Rudock went on to have a good season in his final year at Michigan.
Yeah, I liked what Harbaugh said when he got Rudock. The coach, the interviewers up there, they go, well, what kind of condition did he come in to your program? I mean, what did you have to do to make him good? And Harbaugh said nothing. He said he was all schooled up on everything. You know, he recognized the defensive fronts. He made the calls, you know, made the right decisions. He wasn't perfect, but, you got to understand when you're a head coach, you can't let, Hayden would say it all the time, you can't let the inmates run the joint, you know, and that's just the way it is. You're going to listen. Out of every 4 quarterbacks you bring to the University of Iowa, 3 of them nowadays are going to transfer.
Yeah.
And that's the same at Nebraska. That's the same at Alabama. That's the same at Georgia.
It's the same everywhere. Yeah, it's the same everywhere.
Especially the quarterback position.
Yeah.
You know,
I still don't understand.
You know, when one of them transfers from Iowa and he goes, and, you know, I hope he does great, you know, because they're our boys when they're at Iowa, and they're our boys when they leave Iowa. But yeah, Kirk Ferentz is like, it's hard to criticize the man too much. I mean, good God, what's he got to do?
Are the inmates that the outside? Is that the outside noise? That
anymore it is. You know, the inmates could be donors if they force a coach out, like they did Tom Davis. You know, the inmates could be players. You know, I'll guarantee you, Kirk Ferentz and Phil Parker ain't never going to let the players run the place.
No, they're out.
And
they don't play.
And
they
love the players, but they're not going to let. You know.
I agree with you. There.
Yeah, Nwampa wasn't going to play at Iowa until he was good enough. You know, and that's just the way it is. So.
Yeah. Well, you know what? This has been a very good show. I think it's been one of our better shows. I appreciate everything, and I will invite you back in the future. And
I didn't really want to do it. I've never done anything like this before, and
how do you feel about it?
I was nervous as hell. I didn't puke, so I'm doing good.
Well, good.
I miss Paul. You know, the Gabby Marshall's parents wanted me to talk to Paul and tell him to leave her alone, but.
Oh, Paul got a kick out of that.
Yeah, Paul is such a comedian. Holy shit.
Yeah, he is.
But.
Yeah, Paul's going through some stuff right now, personal stuff, and I don't know when we're going to get him back, but we will get him back.
I'm sure the Gabby Marshall family is really putting him through things. So anyway.
All right. Thank you for being on the show. I appreciate it, and I'll get you back soon. I'm going to end this because it's gotten pretty long, but we did cover every recruit. We got every recruit cut.
Well, we got most of them in there.
Yeah.
You know. So.
All right. Thank you, Kelvin, for being part of the show tonight. I appreciate it.
Yep. You have a good one.
We got right here. Said South Bend says you did good, Kelvin. I don't agree with a lot, but that's what makes the show good.
Well, you stay in South Bend, so.
All right.
Go
we'll
Irish.
Talk to you guys later. Or I'm out.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.